Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to discuss about the relationship between equals and hashcode method. As you know, in the Java coding world, we often have to compare different objects using the equal methods, as well as the hashcode method is very useful in the java.utl.collections, where we have collections there like a hash map, hash table, concurrent hash map, hash set. So those classes, they use the hashcode method. For example, hash map use hashcode method to decide which bucket the object should go in the hash map, right? So these equals and hash code, both methods are very important to understand for junior Java developers, and many times you get questions in interview about what is the relationship between the equals and hash code method and why those methods are important actually. So just to start with the beginning, if you go to the Oracle site, this is the object class of Java, and you will have this method equals that say indicates whether some other object is equal to this one, and we have hashcode method also in the object class returns hashcode value for the object. So hashcode is integer and equals return boolean based on if the two objects are equal or not. So for example, if this is one of our object, let's say employee object, right, and this is another employee object, so both are same. So if both objects are same or equal, then both objects should have same hash code basically, right? So the other thing is, if this employee and this other employee, if they are not equal, as is just demonstrated by different colors, they are not equal, so they should have different hash codes, right? So that is an important thing to understand. So as you know, the hash code returns the hash code of the object, and equals method we use to compare two different objects, right? So I am going to discuss this in the solution, like in this discussion session. We have created employee object here. So you can see the employee object is just a plain Java bean class with four fields: ID, first name, last name, and salary, and it has the getters and setters. And now we'll just take a look at the hash code method, right? So hash code method, we are actually it is recommended that we should take a prime number here when you are calculating the hash code of a object, and you can take individual fields to, you can multiply this prime number with the individual fields, and then you can form the hash code using those fields. For example, here we are taking the strings hash code method, right? We are using to add the hash code into this result. Again, we are using last name is also string, so we are using hash code of string to add into our result. So that's how we will form the result with all these, considering all these fields of the object, and we return this int hash code here, right? So this is how the hash code is implemented. And in equals method, we first do couple of checks. If this is equal to the object, means both are same object, we will return true. If the object that we are getting here, it's a null, then obviously the two objects cannot be same, so we return false. We check the classes, the class names of the both objects. If both are not same, we will return false. If these conditions are true, first thing we will just cast the object to employee object, right? So we will get the other employee object here, and we will compare these other employee objects, every field, with this current employee that we are having, right? So as you can say, other ID we are comparing with the current ID, right? Others first name we are comparing with the first name, last name we are comparing with the other last name, and salary of other we are comparing with this salary, right, of this object. So if anything is not matching, we will immediately return false. But if everything is matching, at the end we are going to return true, so which means that both objects are equal. So let's just go into our original example where we are demonstrating the hash code method and trying to understand how the hash code and equals are related. So as you can see, now this is a employee E1 I created. So E1 is ID is 1, then Nitin Patil is the last name and first name, and salary is 80,000. Now we created another employee E2 where again for the employee E2, the values are same as E1, right? So which means that E1 and E2 both are identical, both are equal objects basically. And E3, you can see that field names and values are different. Here ID is 3 and here salary is 84,000. So now what we will do is we will get the hash code of the employee E1 here, and we will get the hash code of employee E2 here. So since both are identical objects with same values, then we should have the same object in hash 1 and hash 2, right? So let's just quickly run this and make sure that that is giving us correct result. So as you can see, both the values, both hash codes for employee 1 and employee 2 are same, and it is printing the employee objects E1 and E2 are equal, right? Because this equals method will, when we do E1 dot equals, it actually calls internally the equals method that we implemented of the employee object, right? And it checks for the equality. So similarly, now we will calculate the hash code of E1 and E3 employee, and as we know, the E3 is separate, right? Like it is different, its ID here is 3 and its salary is also different, 84,000, which means that this should give us a different hash code, and when we are comparing E1 and E3 equality, it should say that they are not equal. So let's just quickly run this example. So as you can see, both the hash codes that are generated are different hash code, right, for E1 and E3, and it is saying that employee E1 and E3 are not equal. So this means that like this is how the equals method work and hash code method works. So if you have two identical and two same objects, then its hash code should match, that is the important thing. And the whenever you are doing equals, it will call the equals method that you have to implement for your Java object, right? The way it is shown here, similarly you can implement. So in this short video, I just wanted to explain how hashcode and equals method are related to each other, and why it is important to understand, because in many times for junior Java developers in interview, the question comes as either they will ask you to implement the equals and hashcode method. So for example, they will give you, just like they will give you a class and you have to implement this equals and hashcode both methods, or they will ask you what is the relationship between equals and hashcode method. So you can tell them that if two objects are equal, then they should have a same hash code, right? So this is what you should answer. And you can also if it is a whiteboard session, you can explain them with an example like this, like you can create two different objects and use the hash code and use the equals method and show them how the hash code and equals method work, right? So so as as you know, I often create videos related to Java J2E, informative videos as well as important questions answers for interviews and coding solutions. So please subscribe to the channel. This helps the channel to grow and reach to more people. Thanks for watching the video.